Welcome to the 100 Black Men of Greater Cleveland's Saturday Academy, held every third Saturday of the month. The Saturday Academy is a transformative experience for our young men, providing them with powerful growth opportunities. From impactful leadership training to invaluable mentorship and access to dynamic guest speakers who inspire and empower, the Academy is shaping the leaders of tomorrow. Because what they see is what they'll be. We're excited to welcome today's special guest, the Make Them Know Your Name MTKYN Foundation. This inspiring organization will lead a life-saving session on the importance of heart health and how to use an AED machine. Let's hear what they have to say.
So without further ado, I want to introduce you to you, Miss Nicole Ward, from the Make Me Know Your Name Foundation.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I'm very excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me today. Thank you for the introduction and all the introductions that were shared today. As it was mentioned, there's a lot of resources here, and I hope that you all truly take advantage of that. Someone started off by talking about the importance of health and then heard a gentleman say health is wealth, and that's absolutely true. Life is short, so you have to take advantage of it and you have to appreciate the people that are in your lives currently today. I want to share with you a story, my story, and I think that this is going to be the best way for us to introduce to you something that we feel is vitally important for you to learn and to know as you go throughout life, because you never know what life may bring and what you might be faced with. A lot of people, they share their introduction, so I'm going to share a little introduction about myself. As mentioned, my name is Nicole Ward. I am the Executive Director of the Make Them Know Your Name Heart Health Foundation. I am also a mom, and as Greg mentioned, that is the most important role or hat or responsibility that I can have. My two sons, my oldest son, his name is PJ. He's a business entrepreneur. He does business, real estate development. He also has his own in-home dog training business and is soon to open the first minority-owned bank. My youngest son, I think that a lot of you may know, but his name is Denzel Ward, and he's our cornerback, our starting cornerback for the Cleveland Browns. How many of you are Browns fans in here? Thank you, thank you. In addition to me being the Executive Director of the Make Them Know Your Name Heart Health Foundation, all the things that Mr. Greg has mentioned, sharing with you that I am a mom of PJ and Denzel, who are doing very well and have had a lot of success in life. There's another title that I hold. It's one that I didn't want to hold, and that is that I am also a widow. How many of you know what a widow is? Can someone tell me what is a widow? Yes. Yes. It is a woman whose husband has died. Denzel's dad, my son's dad, my late husband, who I had been with for almost 30 years, passed away suddenly from sudden cardiac arrest. It was May 2nd, 2016, which started off as a normal day for me. He went to work. Everything was fine. One of the things that, if anyone knew my husband, is that he was passionate about fitness and health and working out. That's something he enjoyed doing. He was also very involved and active in the community and giving back to the community and raising the boys to give back to the community. He was very supportive of his staff. He was a principal at the Bedford City School Districts. Any of you go to the schools in Bedford? Any Bedford students here?
I work there.
You work there? Okay. So he was a principal for many years in the Bedford City School District. And I remember one day he came home and he said that one of his staff members was going to be starting a spin class. And he asked me if I would join him. And I'm going to tell you, I was not into fitness as much as he was, but he was always very encouraging and always trying to get me to work out with him. When he asked me if I would join the spin class with him this time, I said yes. I don't know why, but I did. We had attended this spin class a handful of times. It was in a local gym right up the street from his school in Bedford. And we participated in the spin class together. But on this particular day, May 2nd, 2016, when he called me after work to say that he was going to the spin class and asked me if I would join him, I thought I had the perfect excuse as to why I wouldn't. One was because Denzel was home for spring break from the Ohio State University, and I hadn't seen him that much from him being in school practicing. We had just celebrated his 19th birthday prior to this. Also, my family has started a step challenge where we were saying that we wanted to try to get 10,000 steps a day. And for some reason, I had agreed to do that, and I had been working diligently that day to get my 10,000 steps. And so I was exhausted and really didn't want to go. So when I spoke to my husband on the phone, I told him, no, I think I'm going to stay back. And I'm just going to cook dinner, spend some time with Denzel, and just call me when you're on your way home. And that was our conversation. The class started at 6 p.m. I knew that it was going to end at 7 because I told you I had been to the class with him actually all the other times before, which was probably 5 or 6 times. It was probably around 6:20 when my cell phone rang, and it was from his phone. So I was surprised because I knew the class was for an hour. When I picked up the phone, there was a lady on the other end of the line, and she was screaming, "Your husband has fallen off the bike. Your husband has fallen off the bike." At that point, I didn't know what she was trying to convey to me other than the words that I had heard, and that was that he had fallen off the bike. So she's asked me which emergency room should we take him to. My response was the closest one. When she told me which one they were headed to, I hung up the phone and I told Denzel, a lady just called and said that your dad has fallen off the bike, we need to get to the hospital. So we started off to the hospital, and I don't know why, but something told me to let the family know that he had fallen off the bike and to meet us at the emergency room. And you would think the only thing she said was he had fallen off the bike, so at that point I didn't know the severity of it. But I told Denzel, call your brother, call your grandparents, call your aunts, call your uncles, tell them to meet us at the emergency room. When we got to the emergency room and I went to the desk to check in to see where he was, as I was standing there, a lady came up to me, and I'm assuming it was the same lady who had called on the phone. She was crying. And she said, "Nicole, I am so sorry. I'm so sorry your husband has fallen off the bike and he has stopped breathing." That was the first time I had heard the words that he had stopped breathing. So now I knew the importance and the severity of it, and I demanded my way back into the room where he was. When I got into the room where they were working on my husband, trying to revive him, and he was laying there, I didn't know what to do. The only thing that I could do was try to give him as many encouraging words as I could, to hold his hand, to tell him he was strong, to let him know that he could pull through this. Twice while we were in there, they told us that they had a heartbeat. So I thought that he was going to pull through. "Paul, you're strong, you can do this." But it was after that second time, shortly after that, actually it was 8:14 to be exact. That is when I heard the words, and they said that he hadn't made it and that he had passed away. So what started off as a normal Monday on May 2nd, 2016 ended up being the worst day of my life. It ended up being a day that changed my life forever. I didn't understand what had happened because if you looked at my husband, he looked like a bill of health. Some of you said that you are football fans and that you're familiar with football. And I'm sure many of you, if you didn't see it for yourself, you probably heard about the situation with Damar Hamlin when he collapsed on the football field. How many of you saw that or heard about that situation? He collapsed on the football field, and he suffered from sudden cardiac arrest, the exact same thing that my husband collapsed from when he fell off the bike. I am so thankful and so glad that Damar Hamlin was able to survive. The reasons why I think he was able to survive were for several reasons, or a few reasons I should say. First and foremost, by the grace of God. Secondly, because someone responded immediately and took action to do CPR and to use an AED. And because of that, he received the attention and the care that he needed, and he is with us today. The reason I share that story is to share with you the difference in what happened in my husband's situation. When my husband collapsed off the bike, even though he was at a local gym in a class full of people, unfortunately, as to what I was instructed and told, after having conversations is that no one performs CPR. Also, what I learned is that no one used the AED, the automatic external defibrillator that was located right outside the classroom, which had the opportunity to triple the chances of his survival. I didn't understand that, and I'm gonna be honest, I didn't know what sudden cardiac arrest was prior to my husband passing away. But obviously, after this did happen, I started doing my research and looking more into it and just trying to understand the reason why. And what I did learn is that sudden cardiac arrest doesn't have to be a death sentence, that you don't have to die if you suffer from sudden cardiac arrest. I also learned that heart disease is the #1 killer in the United States, and half of the deaths associated with heart disease is directly related to sudden cardiac arrest. I also learned that you have to take action immediately. Time is of the essence. Someone has to begin CPR and someone has to use an AED for someone to have a chance of survival. My husband's first chance of survival was when the EMS arrived. On average, it takes about 7 to 12 minutes for the EMS to arrive. Here in Cleveland, I did my research again, it's more like 12 minutes. So let me share with you a startling statistic. For every minute that passes, the chances of survival decreases by 10%. So you all do the math. If it takes, for every minute that passes, the chances of survival decreases by 10%, and it takes 7 to 12 minutes for an EMS to arrive and to begin the techniques that are needed to help save a life, then what were the chances of his survival? Really none. I don't know how long it took the EMS to get there, but like I said, on average here in Cleveland, they said it can take up to 12 minutes. So if no one does anything, then that person will not survive. So again, I began to look. It took me a year. It took me a year to go back to that gym, to that facility, and stand in a classroom where I used to join him at on the spin bike. And as I stood there, I walked to the door, and I looked down the hallway. And just as close as I can see that exit sign on that wall is just as close as I can see the AED that was mounted on the wall but never used. So the question in my mind is, how is it that you have an AED, how do you agree to have an AED in your facility on the wall to be mounted like a piece of art but never to be touched to help save a life? So that's when I felt like it was time for us to take action. When Denzel was drafted into the NFL and he had the opportunity to start a nonprofit organization, honestly, I didn't know what his focus was. And I didn't give him any idea as to what it should be. In my head, I thought it was going to be something with youth and that it was going to be something sports related. I think what he decided still impacts our youth, still impacts you guys tremendously, and is very important. But immediately, he said that he wanted it to be focused on heart health, in honor of his dad. And the reason why he wanted it to be focused on heart health is because he didn't want any other family to have to face what we had to face as a family in that situation. So with that, we started the Make Them Know Your Name Heart Health Foundation. And with that, and with this foundation, our hope and our goal is to be able to provide education, training, resources, and most importantly, to instill the confidence in people to take action when faced with an emergency situation such as sudden cardiac arrest. Because the truth of the matter is that there is no age attached to sudden cardiac arrest. It can happen to young people as young as you, and it can happen to the elderly. And the reason why it's called sudden cardiac arrest is because there are no warning signs. There is no pre-indication to say that you are about to face this situation. It just happens. I've heard stories since I've been sharing my story, and we've been doing this. I've had so many people come up to me and share their stories. And personally, I've heard about people going into sudden cardiac arrest as young as 9 years old, if not older, and a lot older. So again, I'm telling you that this is something that is not only important. You don't have to be elderly. You don't have to have a heart condition or heart disease. You don't have to have that. It can happen to any one of us. And with the statistics, it shows that it's not a matter of if it's going to happen to you, someone you know, or someone you love. It is when will it happen to you, someone you know, or someone you love. So we all need to know how to do CPR. We all need to know how to use an AED, because you never know when you might need to use it to help save someone else's life, or you never know when someone else might need to use it to help save your life. That video was so powerful because it said, we're better together. We're better together. Today, less than 10% of people survive from sudden cardiac arrest simply because people either do not know how to do the technique or they're afraid to do the technique. And it's so easy to learn. And that's what we're going to teach you here today, is how to do CPR. We want you to get familiar with an automatic external defibrillator, because sometimes when you see the automatic external defibrillator enclosed behind a glass case, it can look intimidating, or you think you got to be a trained professional or have some type of credentials in order to use it. You don't. Anyone can use it. Any one of you here can use it. If you ever see someone suffer from sudden cardiac arrest or collapse, you go and get the AED and you use it. You're going to see how simple it is. It tells you exactly what to do. It tells you exactly what to do. So that is my story, and that is why we are here today, in order to share with you how to perform these techniques.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel and the Make Them Know Your Name Foundation presentation. If you'd like your young man to be a part of this life-changing experience, you can sign him up by scanning the QR code, because what they see is what they'll be.